Patience is the name of the game right now, my friends. What is going on? It's Jordan Cameron back with another update video where we are going to go over the Bitcoin chart, our total market cap chart over here on total cryptocurrency market cap, where we are going to once again discuss our base thesis of really since the April and March lows during the tariff stuff, that we are going to see the biggest blow off top in crypto history, followed by the biggest crash in crypto history. And despite the market over here on Bitcoin, on Total 3, the altcoin market, and really the whole cryptocurrency market pretty much going sideways over the last few weeks, nothing has changed on our thesis, and we're going to go over that again today. And I think the sort of next move here is going to surprise a lot of people as everyone's kind of getting bored again as Bitcoin chops up here near its previous all-time high. But we'll kind of go back and look at, when we, do expect Bitcoin to actually break into new highs here, which would consequently get the total market cap chart here to push into new highs and eventually hit that 10 trillion and 4236 Fibonacci extension that we're looking at over the next few weeks. So if you do enjoy today's video, make sure you watch the whole thing. A lot of good info in today's video that we're going to go over, and make sure you smack the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new, only 25% of you guys are subscribed. All right, so let's talk here. So obviously, what do we have going on right now? And for everyone new to the channel here, during the tariff crash back over here in April of 2025, there was a lot of fear in the market, a lot of people calling for the end of markets. Okay, and on this channel, as we had Bitcoin over here at the 50 moving average bands down here in March and April, we were discussing that this is the time to be the most bullish, and how when we do hold this as support, and if we do hold this as support, which we were expecting that it does until it gets a weekly close below, what we are basically expecting is simply Bitcoin to come up and make a new all-time high. Now, we did have Bitcoin come up and make a new all-time high at about 112K, but what we are really waiting for, obviously, is the true breakout into clear price discovery and clear new all-time highs to really get this total market cap chart to push into new clear all-time highs, which is not done since December. And that's obviously going to be the real Kickstarter and driver to get this total cryptocurrency market. Once again, and I'm not saying this lightly, guys, and I don't want to come on here and just say this lightly. I do expect the biggest blow-off top in crypto history before we get to see the biggest bubble pop in crypto history, where a lot of people are going to FOMO in at the 4236 Fibonacci up here at the 10 trillion point. I do think this is going to be a very explosive move, and we're going to go over today why. But a lot of people are going to FOMO in at the top, just like every single cycle, 2017, 2020, before we see the bubble pop, and a lot of people not having a great time, and people calling crypto a scam again in the dot-com bubble 2.0, which people will call the crypto bubble. And that's what I'm expecting here over the next 6 to 12 months here. So let's go over a few things. So obviously right now we got Bitcoin at previous all-time highs, kind of struggling here at 108K to 106K. Kind of just consolidating since May. We've been about 2 months of just going sideways here, which I think is perfectly fine. Now, how much longer is this going to take? Once again, I don't know, guys. I'm not here to try to predict time. I'm just sort of looking at this perspective as we have a few steps that we need to get through, right? Our invalidation for this move. Obviously, if we are expecting this total market cap chart to push into new all-time highs, our invalidation simply is, my friends, Bitcoin getting a weekly close below the 50 moving average band, which has not done this bull cycle, right? Down over here in 2023, it held. Bitcoin went on to go from 25K to about 75K, about a 3x move. Down over here in August of 2024, Bitcoin hit about 49K, held the 50 moving average band, and pushed up to about 110K, which is a little over a 2x move. And obviously right here, we held, and we've seen approximately at this current point, about a 50% move so far. So what we're really waiting for, right? And, we're going to go over, our stablecoin dominance charts. If we go over to the daily on this, why we're still expecting this to go lower, even though we have seen a long consolidation for about 2 months, why we're expecting this to go lower, and ultimately for that, this move down for the stablecoin dominance chart to be what gets up the total market cap chart up to the 10 trillion point. And, we kind of go over our global liquidity chart again for Bitcoin, and we can see that global liquidity just continues to rise. And, we're probably going to have more liquidity enter the system, as I think we're about to see this 5 trillion spending package about to be passed by the government here. So global liquidity keeps rising. Stablecoin dominance, we're expecting to continue to go lower, all the way back down to the bottom of the range. And if you know anything about this channel, we've been discussing this since probably February 2025. We're expecting this to get back up to the top of the range, and now we're expecting it get back down to the bottom of the range. Okay, and this move back down to the bottom of the range of this stablecoin dominance chart on the daily is going to be what the main driver is to get the total market cap chart up to that 10 trillion point. Combine that with global liquidity just continuing to skyrocket up here. And we know that Bitcoin follows global liquidity with about a 2 to 3 month lag. Okay. And you guys can see that global liquidity just continues to rise. So I'm not going to go completely into depth with our stablecoin dominance chart today. I'm not going to go completely in depth with our global liquidity chart today, but we've been discussing this for every single video on the channel since about April. And you guys go over here on the total market cap chart, and you can see that the market has made higher highs and higher lows since about April. And I'm going to continue to expect this to happen. Now, the big question is, okay, I think there's two main questions people have right now, okay, is when are we expecting this next impulse for total market cap to new all-time highs? And number two, is most of that move Bitcoin, or is most of that move going to be altcoins? I think those are the two questions we're going to have. A lot of people are going to have, 80% of people are going to have, is when, which is one of the hardest things to predict, and what, okay? Is it going to be mainly Bitcoin, or is it mainly going to be the altcoin market, okay? And we're going to go over that a little bit today, okay? Now, I want to make this clear. No one really knows which one's going to happen, when it's going to happen, but we're going to try our best today to kind of look at what we're looking at. So, just to give a little backspace onto this chart for anyone who's new to the channel here, this is our total market cap rising wedge, and this has been our sort of base case thesis since we hit the lows over here in March. As I believe that total market cap and total 3, which is the altcoin market, okay, minus Ethereum, is basically forming these giant rising wedges, which are bearish patterns, okay? But what we typically see of these rising wedges, so we typically see 3 main touches to the upside. Now, we had the main touch in 2017. We had 2 main touches here in 2021. And if we extend this out, we kind of look at later into this year, into Q4, that 4236 or even slightly wick above the 4236 would put us right at the top of that rising wedge. And that's, a main reason why, combine that with the psychological level of 10 trillion is why I'm expecting this market to get up there. Now, when could we see the next move up? Okay. When? Let's start with when before we get into the what. Okay. When could we see this next move up? Well, I think we're getting pretty close here. I do think we could probably chop around for a few more weeks, but just to kind of look at our bottom trend line from the COVID crash and every single big expansive move that we've seen from the cryptocurrency market, you guys can see that obviously the COVID crash, we had this expansive move, right? 2022, 2023, we kind of went sideways until here where we had this expansive move. And then you guys can see we had a big expansive move. We came down, we hit this trend line here, and we saw this expansive move. Okay. Now, what you'll notice is we had a slight deviation below here, but this is really where I believe that we started this next expansive move. And this is just kind of a consolidation similar to here or similar to here before we get that next expansive move to the upside here. Now, how much further could this go? Well, in theory, if we kind of go based off these previous expansive moves, this could just continue to go sideways until we hit this trend line again. Okay. Now, if we just went sideways here in this range, we basically would hit this trend line. If we went straight down, we could hit this, next week. If we get, about a 10% move down on total market cap, we would hit this next week. If we just went sideways from this current level, we could hit this at the end of August. So how I'm kind of looking at this is, I believe that the move is going to start very soon. But if we're kind of being conservative here, this move could start as soon as tomorrow. And this move could start, 2 months from now. But mainly what I'm watching here is is if we're going to continue to chop up here on the weekly, is this level being defended by the end of August, okay? And basically the expansive move happening before the next 2 months, okay? And I'm just putting that out as a disclaimer, as this could take a little bit longer, right? This chop sideways, this bore out period before the market really goes nuts could take a little bit longer. But ultimately, I think it's going to lead to the same expansive point of the 10 trillion point, and patience in this area is going to be rewarded, okay? So that sort of answers our when, okay? Could happen tomorrow, could happen 2 months from now. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know. I don't really care. I'm sitting back on my recliner with my Bitcoin and altcoin bags. I'm very, very happy. Okay, Bitcoin's pretty close to all-time highs. I'm happy sitting on my altcoin bags with many of them already up from where I bought. Some of them I'm break even on, but I'm sitting in my recliner waiting for this move. I don't really care if the market goes a little bit lower or even goes sideways here. I'm having patience because I do think patience is going to be rewarded here, okay? So that kind of answers when, all right? No one really knows, but I do think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But if we're just going based off the chart, somewhere between tomorrow and 2 months from now, okay? Now, and that's kind of just to give you guys some patience, where if it doesn't happen tomorrow, you don't get too impatient, all right? Now, let's go over question number 2, where is if we do see this big expansive move on total market cap, and once again, I do think we are going to see this big expansive move on total market cap up to that 10 trillion psychological level, up to the 4236 Fibonacci, and up to the rising wedge. Will it be mainly Bitcoin or will it be altcoins? Okay, now that is the main question. A lot of people are going to be asking themselves that question, okay? And we could go over the narratives of why, okay? Why it could be Bitcoin, why it could be altcoins, right? We could talk about, quantitative easing versus quantitative tightening. Okay, is the Fed about to start easing, which is going to make altcoins start to outperform? Is the Fed going to keep rates high and not ease, which is going to continue to make Bitcoin perform more? We could go over all the narratives you want to go over, okay? Are we going to get the stablecoin bill passed? Are we going to get, altcoin ETFs? Are we going to, we could go over every single narrative we could possibly go over. But I think right now it's important that we stick straight based on the charts and we go based off of what has worked in the past. And if we're going to ask ourselves about the altcoins, I think we firstly have to start with understanding that the altcoins are not going to move big until Bitcoin gets into price discovery. And you can go based on previous cycles based off this. You can go based off this cycle for this. We've talked about this many, many times. What is the candle in this up thrust right here for Bitcoin that altcoins started to go really nuts? It was this candle right here, this weekly close candle, this up thrust candle, where Bitcoin broke out above these previous highs in April, right here in early November. That was the candle right here that the altcoin market had this candle, okay? That was the expansive move. It took Bitcoin breaking into new highs theoretically, if that's even a word, for the altcoin market to start absolutely going nuts, okay? And we can even go back to this expansive move. What was really the candle that got altcoins really starting to break out? It was this candle right here from October 23rd of 2023. Bitcoin started to break through new all-time highs or new cycle highs. And that is really what got altcoins to finally break through this resistance right here in October, this October 23rd, 2023 candle right here. That's what finally got altcoins to break this 2-year resistance line. Okay, so we know based on this cycle that we most likely aren't going to see the altcoins get any type of expansive move until we get Bitcoin breaking into an expansive weekly candle into new all-time highs. So I'm talking about a weekly close above 109,400 that expands far past that on the close. Okay, so what I mainly want to say about this is I would not expect any parabolic altcoin moves, any massive altcoin moves until we can get Bitcoin with a weekly close above 109,400 and a convincing close above 109,400. Not one that closes at 110,000. I'm talking about, 115, 16,000 emphatic weekly candle. would not expect altcoins to start moving until then. Okay, so that's number one. Is I would expect Bitcoin to outperform until we get an expansive Bitcoin candle. Okay, so basically that leads me to think that it's going to be Bitcoin that breaks total market cap into new highs. Okay, so I do think no matter what, it's going to be Bitcoin outperforming in the short term. Okay, so if you're one of those that thinks altcoin season is going to start tomorrow, I disagree. I think it's going to be Bitcoin continue to outperform in the short term. Now, I do believe you get Bitcoin to break with a emphatic weekly candle into new highs, then you're going to see altcoins outperform. Then it's going to be mainly the altcoin market, right? I do still think Bitcoin's going higher, but I think then it's mainly going to be your Ethereums, your XRPs, your Cardanos, your Chainlinks, your utility coins that are really going to be pushing this higher. But I do believe Bitcoin's going higher, but I do believe once you get Bitcoin with a emphatic close above those previous all-time highs, based on this cycle, that's when we typically see altcoin outperformance, okay? Where we see altcoins, on a whole go up 180% and altcoins on a whole go up 130% each time Bitcoin break into new cycle highs. Okay, from that point, altcoins outperformed. Before that, Bitcoin outperformed. So that's kind of my what, is I'm expecting Bitcoin to continue to outperform short term. And if this continues to go sideways for another, 3 to 8 weeks, which I know sounds horrible, I would continue to expect Bitcoin to kind of suck liquidity out of the altcoin market. But I do believe as soon as you get some type of weekly close above the all-time highs for Bitcoin, that's when you're going to see the altcoin market considerably outperform Bitcoin. And that's going to be a main driver of getting this market up to the 10 trillion point over the next 6 months. Okay. So as we head into the second half of this year, I want to say this year is going by so fast, guys. June 30th. Continue to enjoy your time out in the sun. Continue to enjoy your summer. This market could start to blast off tomorrow. It could start to blast off 2 months from now. But I want you guys to be ready and prepared. Though the market is super boring right now, no one's euphoric, and the market is just flat as a pancake. Okay? I want you guys to be aware that this market can change in a snap of the finger. Okay, an absolute snap of the finger, this market can start going absolutely bananas. We've seen it many, many times, and we've even seen it this a couple of times in this cycle. Be prepared. Okay, when people start getting interested again and people start getting euphoric again, after this slow time period is done, be ready to take profits, guys, because this channel is going to be screaming from the rooftops, taking profits when this market's not boring anymore. Because the time to sell is when the market's not boring. The time to be accumulating or the time to be holding is when the market is boring. Okay, so it's been your boy Jordan Cameron, guys. That's just kind of a quick update video today. I haven't made a video in a week because there really hasn't been anything to talk about. Bitcoin's still in the same range. Altcoins are kind of still in the same range they've been in. Not really too much to add. Still just having patience here, and still the same thesis that we've had since the March lows, which is basically the biggest blow off top in crypto history, followed by the biggest bubble pop in crypto history. And people are going to be talking about this in the history books, I think, over the, how, we got the whole world to think that, altcoins were the next sliced bread, but in reality, they were the next Beanie Babies before really whatever is left and whatever is useful goes on a real bull run later this decade. All right. So it's been your boy Jordan Cameron. I'm out. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like the video. And I'll catch you guys in the next update video. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a couple of days from now. Let's see what the market gives us, guys. See ya.